We're ready to proceed to the next step on our window grill, but unfortunately most of you are going to need tools if you've never done this before. Forging a tenon would be extremely difficult freehand at the anvil by hammer only, although I suppose you could do it. It's theoretically possible. I've never seen anybody do it, so if you can do it, share a video of it because I'd love to watch. Anyways, the idea here is to make a tenon, which is the reduced section on the end of a bar. A tenon can be round, it can be square, it can be rectangular, it can be oval. It just depends on what it is you're trying to do. For this project, it's a round tenon. Very simple. And the tenon should have a nice crisp shoulder, or in the case of something, if you're going to a round bar here, you might need a special rounded shoulder, which adds considerably to the difficulty. But that's essentially how a tenon fits into this project. So that's a mortise and tenon joint. Our punched hole is a mortise, and this is a tenon. This has been left long so we can trim it. I'll measure and trim this when we get to that point, but I'll forge them all so that our shoulder-to-shoulder measurements are identical for all the bars. Then I'll trim off the tenons as another step. So to forge a tenon, there are really three tools that we haven't discussed much, if at all, that you will need to do the job easily. Like I say, you might be able to get by without some. You might be able to do something freehand at the anvil that will work, but it probably won't look as nice. The first tool you'll need is called a butcher. And a butcher sets the shoulder right at the tenon, and it just establishes where that will be and defines the mass for the tenon as opposed to what's part of the bar. And I'll show these in close-up after I talk about each tool just a little bit. After you've created that shoulder, you need to draw out the tenon. You can draw this out by hand and get it close, but it probably won't be very accurate. And for that you need some sort of a tool that defines the tenon. I frequently do this under the power hammer with a spring swedge. This is just a shop-made pair of swedges, and you can make a set just like this to use at the anvil. And that defines that round tenon. My smithing magician has a set of dies that have various openings you can set, and it's flat, but it won't go any deeper than the size of my tenon. And if I roll this around in there as I work, square, octagon, round, I can make a very nice round tenon under these dies. And there are other versions of tenoning dies. That's just a quick example. The final tool, the butcher and the dies almost never leave a perfect shoulder, and aesthetically it looks nice if there's just a little bit of an upset on the shoulder. And to do that, you use a monkey tool. A monkey tool is driven over the tenon so that you can upset that shoulder just a little bit and get it nice and square and crisp. If you don't have a monkey tool, you can, on one end, you can use just a heading plate or a bolster with a hole through it. The problem is when you go to the other end to try that, you have to hammer on your tenon, and you're going to end up causing damage to it. So this really doesn't work if you're doing a bar with a tenon on both ends. So the first step is to use a butcher, which is just a straight-sided, not very sharply sloped hardy in most cases. You can also have top butchers. My smithing magician has a set of butchering dies in it, so I can do top and bottom, and this is what I prefer to use. But not everybody has this, so when we talk about making tools, we'll make one more like this. After you've done the butcher, you need some sort of a tenoning die to define the round diameter of the tenon. And any kind of die works. There's lots of different versions of this. And finally, a monkey tool. And the monkey tool just goes over there. The hole in the monkey tool is so you can see inside there and make sure that you don't go too far and upset your tenon inside the monkey tool where you're never going to get it out, and you'll have to get a new picket to make a new tenon on and make a new monkey tool because it's probably in there permanently. So you can do this on just a bottom butcher, and don't go too deep here It's a 1/2 inch bar with a 3/8 tenon, so you only need about a 1/16 of an inch shoulder. And you actually don't want to go full depth to start with. But you can take a little bit more out of the corners because we're going to end up with a round tenon. And this helps start a square shoulder. It's never perfect. The top and bottom butcher approach is really much more efficient, I think. But you don't have to have both. You can do it this way. So there's my defined shoulder. Now I'm going to start drawing this out by hand. Stay away from your shoulder. I'm just tapering the end to get it closer. Don't get any closer than you feel comfortable. I'm just taking some of the mass off with a hammer before I go to some sort of a tenoning die. That way the die does a little bit less work. Under the power hammer, I do it all under the die. I'm going to use the Smithing Magician because it's the simplest of the tools that I have. Doesn't require a power hammer. And we'll make a different version that will be more accessible to people in a small shop than power hammer dies or a Smithing Magician. But you start square, then you go octagon, and as that stretches I can actually do a little bit more with my hammer. Again, I'm staying a good 1/2 inch away from that shoulder though. Now it's just a matter of round it up until these dies start bouncing off of each other. Kind of like that. Because these dies are square-sided, I can work right up to the shoulder under the dies. Under the power hammer, that's a one heat process, but it'll take 2 or 3 here. But the monkey tool almost fits, so we're getting very close. That's a good way to tell if you're on or not. And that die's bottoming out, so that means we should be where we need to be. The monkey tool does go over, so we're ready to monkey it. Now, it's easy for the monkey tool to want to bend the tenon, so keep checking it, making sure everything's still square. That should make just a little bit of an upset, and it really helps guarantee a nice flat shoulder on your tenon. Yeah, that's got just a little bit of correction, so I'll do that again. Once you get what you want, it's time to quit. I don't know if you can see that in the camera, but that has been upset just a little bit and now has a nice true square shoulder on it that should nicely fit the mortise or the punched hole on our rails. So that actually ends up about 1/4 of an inch short. So I either miscalculated or I got something else in mind, and we'll talk about that when we get back to the grill project. This is just a quick look at what it takes to form a tenon and some of the tooling that is required. The next thing we'll do is, over 3 videos, we'll make the tooling. We'll have 1 video to make a butcher, 1 video to make a tenoning tool, and I think I have something in mind that we can make that will not require a power hammer, an arc welder, or a drill press, and can be done all by hand with hammer and anvil. I hope I'm right, and we'll see how that goes. It's an idea I have that I've never tried before. So you're going to be the guinea pigs. And then after that, we will make a monkey tool. And again, a monkey tool is something that usually requires a drill press or a lathe to do a good job. But I think I've got an idea for those who don't have a drill press or a lathe, how we can make a good monkey tool that is perfectly suitable, and some ideas for how to obtain a monkey tool-like object from found materials. So we'll talk about that. Hope you enjoyed that. Hope that makes sense. Stick around, come back for the other ones, and then it should make even more sense. In the meantime, give the video a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, get out to your shop, make something, stay safe, wear your safety glasses, and we'll see you for the next one.